So today I'm actually working on a different project, but it's bus adjacent, we shall say. Down leaning against that tree, see if I can zoom in on it, are the bus windows. 26 of them, 25 of which are good, 24 of which I'm going to use for sure to build a greenhouse. So I've got pressure treated lumber. These are my raised bed gardens, and I kind of let them go to weeds for the last couple of years, but this year I'm doing the new borders of the cinder block, and I'm going to actually plant some stuff for springtime here. But anyhow, I got a bunch of lumber, 4x4s, 2x6s, 2x4s. I got some sheathing, and I got all the bus windows, and over by the garage over there I've got some polycarbonate. So what I'm going to do is build a greenhouse. It's roughly 10 by 10 inside. It'll be square but have a slanted roof. That way right there is south. Behind me is north. So it'll have a high side facing north with no windows, and a doorway will be on that side, probably over in that corner. I'll have to bring in gravel to fill in, some soil and gravel to fill in that height, but there'll be sort of a ramp of gravel coming off the driveway up to the door. And what I'm doing right now is trying to level the footers for the 4x4 posts. So I'm going to keep at it. It's good exercise. So I'm still working on the greenhouse here. This is about 2 days after the last clip. I've actually dug the footers so that these boards are pretty much level. And what I'll do from here is sink the 4x4s, make sure the diagonal measurements are right for the plan, and that'll be the basis. And then these 2x6s are going to be on top and bottom to hold the structure. It's going to be, like I said, a cube with a slanted roof. So I'll have to go get my plan and print it out and make note of measurements before I do that. And we're going to sink some cement around the 4x4s and these blocks. So it'll be good enough for a greenhouse. So on the greenhouse project right now, I have one section assembled as far as the framing goes. I've got galvanized 1/2 inch, 6 inch wide or 6 inch long bolts here, holding each of the intersections here together. So I was careful to try to get it as square as I could with such big lumber. So hopefully it'll be mostly square, and we'll cut that end off a little bit. This is going to be I would say a little over 8 feet on this end as far as height, and a little under 7 feet, maybe 7 feet high from 2x6 to the other end of that 2x6. So one side will be over 8 feet, the other side will be about 7 feet. So we'll have some slope on the roof so the rainwater runs off. Maybe even a little bit, maybe make a little bit shorter. Maybe I'll make it 6.5 feet on this side. But I'm going to lay that out on these posts right now. All right, so now I've got this other one positioned. I'm going to take some final measurements, then use the bar clamp and start drilling some 1/2 inch holes for the bolts. Okay, so I've got the holes drilled here on all 4 corners of this one. I've got bolts put in. Now I've just got to tighten the bolts. And at that point we'll have both sections, and what I'm going to do is take a measurement for the cross pieces and cut 4 of those with the circular saw. And then we will position these on the cinder blocks and screw these pieces in on the sides to hold these square. And at that point we'll have a frame sitting in there waiting for it to be ready for concrete, or cement in the corners. So I've got one wall here stood up with the cross bracing. Turns out I didn't buy enough bolts at Tractor Supply. I'm short 8 bolts. I misfigured in my head when I was grabbing them. but I'll go get those. So what I've got right now is temporary cross bracing in the corners. The reason I'm doing this in the driveway for this section is that right back there I've got that trenched out, but I will not be able to get in there to access or to use a drill or anything like that once it's down in the hole. So I've just kind of shimmed it with these blocks on both sides and put this in. Now on this side, for the other piece, I will have access to use the drill and put the bolt through. So I've got a bolt hole drilled on each side already, going all the way through for one bolt. And then right now, I think I'm going to probably quit for the evening and resume this tomorrow. So probably tomorrow afternoon. But anyhow, it's coming along. So I just got home from working on the bus and grabbed the kids real quick. And we got this structure roughed into the cinder blocks for sort of like footers. We'll be concreting the corners, dropping bags of quickcrete in to kind of hold things down. But the basic structure here is ready to move forward. And I put some temporary corner bracing in just to keep these from falling over until I can get the top structures built. So I've got to work out the angle between that 2x6 and that 2x6 for the ceiling pieces. So it's a rainy Sunday. I'm over at my brother's shop here doing some ripping of these pressure treated 2x for the greenhouse, but I'm also going to be working on the ceiling of the bus some more since it's inside work. And I think I'm going to get the table saw and cut the plywood pieces, if I have enough time, for the ceiling. Get them put inside the bus, and then I'll start painting them inside the bus. They're going to get primer and then a coat of white flat white paint for the ceiling. So anyhow, that's what I'm up to right now. I'm going to keep ripping these pieces. I got about 6 to do. These are actually going to sit beside the windows, the old bus windows, as the divider upright supports, vertically on the greenhouse. So I actually got the first layer on the greenhouse last night of the strips that I cut to hold the windows in. They're sort of like an L-shaped with a lip to hold the windows from falling outside from the inside. And I got those put in place last night. So progress on that front, and I'll make a little progress today on the bus. Okay, so I just finished ripping all these sticks with the table saw. There was 6 2x4x8s of pressure treated. The last 4 went faster than the first 2 because the first 2, I didn't realize initially that we had this finishing blade on, and it was old, and probably the carbide tips were dull. I happen to have a new construction blade that I put on with a different profile on the teeth and sharp, and of course that worked way better. So the lesson there is check your blade before you start ripping lumber. I actually popped the breaker twice before I decided to find a better blade. So anyhow, a little table saw tip, just pay attention to how sharp your blade is. So I'm working on the greenhouse here. I've actually put in the sloped supports for the roof or ceiling. There's going to be additional pieces of wood going away from me toward the house there as cross supports that the polycarbonate sheathing will get screwed to. Those will also be 2x6s. But anyway, I was able to figure out the angles here, and I'm sure they're not perfect, but they're close enough. About 9.4 degrees by my math of slope, which is basically one side was 1 inch short on an angle to the corner, or almost an inch short. So anyhow, making progress on the greenhouse here. So I was able to put one upright piece in. I've got the window slots at the top and at the bottom. There's going to be a piece of wood in the middle between the 2 windows out of sheathing, maybe even a 2x, but that'll be where one of the shelves will be bracketed in. So anyway, it's coming along. I dry fit the window, and this method seems to work, so I'll keep at it. I've got 12 of these. Well, no, I think actually there's 12 of them. 12 of these cut, so that'll be 3 for 3 sides and then 3 over here. So that side's just going to hold up sheathing. But anyhow, progress. It's working. So I'm working some more on the greenhouse here. Got the sloped roof sections in place. The uprights will get trimmed down to the sloped level there with probably with either a hand saw or a tiger saw, reciprocating saw. But I've got on this side the uprights put in. I've checked the width with the actual window there, so it's fitting. A little bit of a gap, nothing I can't caulk, but it'll work. So I'm going to move on to that side right there and do the same thing. So I've got the uprights put in place on 2 sides at this point, and I have this side to do. This will hold windows. Then the far side there will get uprights as well, but it's going to be spaced for plywood and a door, so I have to figure that out. So there's the 3rd side done. Now just one more side that'll be measured for sheathing. I think I'm going to do that after I get the windows built. So continuing with the greenhouse, I've got the plan adjusted a little bit. I'm putting the gap that's going to be covered by some sheathing at the bottom, and so I've got 2 rows of 4 windows each here, and then there'll be sheathing covering the top as well. Okay, so I've got one more side I'm working on here with dry fitting the windows and putting the separators in. So about halfway through with this wall. I'm going to put the strips in to hold the windows in the middle, and then I've got to move the pieces up from the bottom that I've taken off and put more blocking in at the bottom. Alright, so making progress. I've got the window framing on this side done. It's moving fairly quick. Again, I'm going to put wood on the bottom. That'll actually save me some digging possibly. I am going to dig some of this dirt out and put gravel in, but I won't have to dig as deep, not having glass that low. So anyhow, I'm going to get this 3rd side framed with windows, and then I'll put the uprights in to hold the plywood on the other side. Okay, so I've got one more little row at the bottom of the 3rd wall of windows to put wood into. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because I lost my T25 bit for these exterior screws. It's in the dirt somewhere and I haven't been able to locate it yet, so I might be stopped until I get a drill bit. So anyhow, that's the way it works sometimes.